So we'll go ahead and get started, man. So this is Jason Bordeaux on behalf of myself and Sean from Solid Sports Podcast. I wanted to reach out to Kris Noel, Mitch Darrell, because both of y'all have been on the show. I consider both of you friends. Um, we've been supporting your music. We respect what you have to say and everything. We love you guys. Sean wasn't able to be here for this particular interview. He's got his own health stuff that he's kind of battling with right now. So uh, being able to be a part of this wasn't currently an option. But we wanted to discuss, right now, 2020. Today's date is June 3rd, just for reference point for a future, whenever this is watched later on. Right now we have the protests that were started because of the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd. And as of today, it looks like they just arrested the other three officers involved, which I was extremely happy to hear. And, praying for convictions on all three of those guys as well. But I wanted to talk about the protest, just have brotherly discussion on what y'all have experienced, what you've seen, maybe even what you felt. Kris, we had you on the show, and you talked. You had your mixtape out, "Shut Up and Listen," which is very, very open. And then Mitch, you've always incorporated different things, racial injustice, and even as far as going to being the token black guy. So you've been all over the spectrum. Both of you have spoken openly about this issue, and we have too as well, trying to do our part. So first of all, I guess we'll just start with the initial response that you had when you heard about the George Floyd incident. And I guess, I don't know, just because of where my screen is, I'm gonna start with Kris.
Okay.
I got you. So when that all had happened, honestly, man, it was like a boom, 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 because you remember we had police running up to people's house, starting to shoot. We had the McMichaels with Arbery.
Yeah.
And so like all these things like are just coming at once. And so I feel like I could speak for myself. I was already in a state of like, is anybody going to do anything? And I remember these things happening, because if I go outside and just slap somebody, not even kill them, not even pull a gun or anything like that, I feel like the cops will be there in like 2 minutes and I'd be in cuffs. Mm-hmm. I might not even make it to jail. You know what I mean? And so my thing is, I'm thinking, where is the justice? And so at this point, I'm thinking like, and I've had this conversation before, is the law solely meant to police Black people? Like, is the law, I know that people are arrested for doing the wrong thing, but it feels like these people are getting away with murder. I don't know, you guys can update me, but I still haven't heard anything about the girl who was shot in the bed and her boyfriend, shot. Do you guys remember that? Where they went to the wrong house? They already had the person in custody. But they went to the wrong house and shot her, killed her. The boyfriend's in jail. But no, I still haven't heard anything about that. As far as George Floyd, seeing the video was definitely made my flesh like just jump, man. Like I wanted to like choke somebody, bro, because the thing is, it's almost as if like we live in a society where people are trying to make it out to be okay. And I hate this saying, man. I really hate this saying. It's, well, we don't have the whole video.
Yeah.
We have all the facts. We don't know what happened. Sometimes you don't need to have all the facts or to know everything that's happening to see. If you see something that's just like, for instance, if I walk past and I see a grown man slap the crap out of a 3-year-old little girl, I don't need all of the facts. That's wrong. Right. It's wrong, and somebody should act on it. And I feel like people are just taking it and justifying it. And just, I feel like that's like the go-to, like, well, we don't know everything. There could have been a reason he got killed and he had his knee on his neck. And so I remember all that. And so it's sort of a boiling point. And as you can see, for like my Black brothers and sisters, like this is sort of like, bro, we've tried every other way to protest and to let you know how we feel. and nothing has worked. All the way back to Kaepernick. Now look at that, how that's panning out right now. You know what I mean? Because he got ridiculed for doing something peaceful. And I know that we're going to talk about this a little bit later on. I know that there's peaceful protests, and it's cool. We can focus on the peaceful protests, but that doesn't negate the fact that there's also protests out there where people are protesting peacefully and getting things thrown at them, like the police are doing wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's almost it's crazy, bro. I'm still like sort of like every day I'm processing, and every time I'm trying to get into the presence of God and pray over these things, not feel, you know what I'm saying, resentment, hate in my heart, and these types of things. But I feel like every time I start to connect, I look at my social media and there's something else outrageous just pops off. I just saw, I turned it off, but I just saw a new video of a cop or two cops beating the crap out of a lady. Like, just unnecessary. They had her down, just waylaying her, you know? And so I think a lot of things can be done and a lot of things need to be done, but it's tiring, bro. It's very, especially coming from a Christian standpoint, when you want to do the right thing and you want to continue to show love, it's definitely pressing that, like, that threshold of like, bro, like, I'm really trying to be an example of Christ, but you about to make me spaz the heck out right now, you know? And I feel like a lot of people, for those people who don't have a foundation in God, like, they're finished, they're done with it, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, man, it's Mitch, a very, yeah.
What would you like to add to that, Mitch?
Honestly, Kris took a lot of what I was feeling, but no, it was one of those things where it's like, I'll be completely honest, when I first saw the video, it's probably something that I saw and didn't even watch and was just kind of like, again, because, so there's the Ahmaud thing, and that took a lot of my focus. And then after that, you see like post after post about here's this that's happened, and this happened. So like eventually there's a podcast I listen to, Joe Budden, where they talk about you got to protect your like mental and the stuff that you ingest on social media. Sometimes you just can't watch everything. Especially people being murdered, it's become so, you become so desensitized. It's not good to watch every single video. So I think the first time I saw it, I saw like 5 seconds and then I just scrolled past it. But I kept seeing it more and more, and eventually was like, okay, I need to watch this whole thing. And like, I think most people agree. It was one of those things where once you watch the whole thing, you're like, this is ridiculous. Like, and unfortunately it took this for people to actually get it. And I was trying for like a week, I've been trying to figure out why this was different. And then I figured, I think it's because this is one of the first ones that didn't have to do with gun violence. And even though the other ones were obvious to me, people would love to use the excuse of like, oh, well, maybe he wasn't shooting to kill him, or maybe since he had his gun out, he must have thought whoever he shot had a gun, and guns are, you know, they can be, you know what I'm saying? So people would use that and be like, oh, it's more the gun's fault. But this, it's like, dude, you choked a man to death. Like, he wasn't running. You saw he didn't have a weapon. He was under your direct control. You're on top of him already. And so you took 9 minutes to basically choke this dude out. And so people saw that and were like, okay, like, they should have felt this way anyway, but this made people see that weren't fully convinced like this was different. And that's why I got such the uproar, and it was posted so many other times. And eventually it was to a point where I was like, it can't be like a protect my mental for this. I need to watch it. I need to get all the facts. I need to see what exactly happened so that I can give this information to other people. And then, I don't know, like Kris said, it's very exhausting because it's like so many things happen where it's like they don't get fully finished, like to fruition. Like, we still don't know about the Ahmaud thing. Like, since this other one overlapped it, we don't know how that's going to turn out. We don't know about the other thing. People are like, don't forget about Breonna Taylor that Kris just brought up. We don't know how that's going to go because you can only focus on so many things at once. So it's like everyone's focused on the George Floyd thing until luckily or thankfully the three, like you said, the other three cops were charged. But it's like we need them to be convicted and like put in jail in a timely manner. So that way we're not just for months just kind of waiting like, okay, let's see what happens to them before we can move on to all these other cases, because there's a bunch of different things that need to be fixed. So initial response was just like, again, and then saying, okay, this time different people are actually kind of getting it. Unfortunate that it took something this egregious for people to get it. But everything does happen for a reason, and maybe this was meant to happen to wake everybody up.
Yeah, I know years ago, I watched the beheading of the American journalist over in Afghanistan. And when I saw that, uh, I got to the point where it's still in my head. And then on
Right.
Facebook, I saw a video of a woman being beheaded over there because she supposedly cheated on her spouse. And so at that point, I realized like I can't watch videos of people being brutally murdered.
Yeah.
In this one, he's not being beheaded, but it's almost like he is slowly still being beheaded because his throat is being his airway is being completely like cut off, and he can't breathe, and the guy's knees crushing against it. So I haven't watched the full video. I'll admit, I don't have to watch the full thing to try to figure out whether it's right or wrong. Was
Exactly.
it just? And I'll be honest, I have a lot of conservative Facebook friends, and I have friends all over the spectrum. I'll just be honest. I would even venture to say that some are racist, probably so. Facebook friends, these aren't my close friends.
Right.
And the only reason I haven't blocked them or I haven't defriended them or whatever is because I want them to see my post at least.
Right.
At least that one-way communication. And so this is the first case where I have not seen one person say we need to wait and see the full story. For me personally, I know other people have said that because I know there's people out there that are just like that.
It's definitely less for sure.
Definitely less. This is like blatant. 9 minutes, guy's hands behind his back. I mean, there's nothing to be afraid of.
But can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the other crazy thing about it, man, and I had somebody post on my wall that I feel like this is the go-to right here. If something crazy like this happens, we immediately go to the person's background and start trying to demonize them.
Right.
So
yeah.
I had somebody post, well, this was what happens when you're a felony, when you're smoking crack, when you're and everybody is like, yo, it took everything within me not to like just go. I was gonna do like a whole college project, get a whole bunch of videos, be like, yo, this is and this is at the point, this actually happened a couple of days ago. And I was like, you know what? I need to be very conservative, very careful where I place my energy and who my energy to. That's
big fact.
Mitch. And so like I didn't say anything, but lo and behold, there's a lot of other people who did. but it befuddles me, bro. Like you see, like this is obviously injustice. And so, but this guy's like, well, maybe if he would have followed the law, never broken the law, basically sort of halfway justifying, like, well, if he's a felony, if he's a felon, then he deserved what he got. And that's what it enrages me. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people out here walking around who are felons, but I don't think that they deserve a knee to the neck until they die. You know what I mean? And so,
big facts.
Well, for me,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm saying like as a Christian, for me, I look at everything through a biblical worldview. So we have all fallen short of God's law. We all deserve death. Every single one of us. So it's by God's grace that he's shown us grace and forgiveness, and he has shown us how we are to forgive others if it's against us. And so if it's not against us, it's like there's no other there's no excuse for that. Pointing out people's backgrounds. And
exactly.
And just kind of one more thing before we continue, like for me, and I'm probably wrong for this, I don't really care what the non-Christian world says or does. Because they're not looking at things through truth, through a biblical truth. It's whenever Christians, I get frustrated with the Christians, because of course, non-Christians are probably going to be racist.
Right.
Because their sin has not been addressed from the core. But if a Christian or a self-proclaimed Christian is still going through these things, one, they're not walking biblically, and they're probably not walking in the Holy Spirit, so they might not be Christian. I don't want to
Yeah.
question anybody's salvation. So whenever I address
No, I
anything,
think you're right, bro.
like I address Christians,
Right.
because I know the world's not going to agree with my Christian mentality in the Bible.
Mhm.
And so, but so anyway, so we've all fallen short. And me, I am 100% pro-life. Like, I'm not even a death penalty person, and I have personal
Mhm.
friends close to me who are for the death penalty. I'm against the death penalty because I deserve the death penalty.
Right.
And again, we all do. But
Right.
through the grace of God, He's given us the ability to continue living life because He has a purpose for all of us. So, sorry, let me shut up now.
Now you're good.
So, well, I mean, I definitely wanted to get y'all's perspective and things like that. So this incident happens. Video goes viral, beyond viral. I don't think any other video has probably been shared and seen more on Facebook. So whenever the protests, and I know there's other factors and everything that we're probably going to skip past and skip through, but I kind of want to go to the most talked about things so we can address those. The actual protests themselves, without going into the specifics necessarily of what's going on. How do y'all view the protest for this situation? And I've said, like, this is the George Floyd thing is what really sparked, like, put gas on the flame.
Mhm.
The flame was already there. It was already
Right.
lit. What would you say is the goal for the protest? Because I'm always let's do something about it. And
Oh,
so
for
I
sure.
want to see what can we get done via the protest.
Well, I'm gonna let Mitch talk first because I feel like I already spoke first. But I
Okay.
will. Let me just ask a question on top of your question. When you say protest, are you referring to the riots and the looting, or are you just referring purely to the peaceful protest?
I'm gonna say protest in general because I've seen two sides to this argument in the online Black community. Um, one side is 100% against the looting, the rioting, the destruction of property. I've seen another side that's like, nah, screw it, tear it all down. Uh, so I've seen both sides. And so, I'll let y'all share y'all's opinions and thoughts on that, to kind of point out where y'all stand. And so, but in general, though, what would you think? Let's just start with the peaceful protests. What do you think the goal of these protests are for?
So I'd say protest in general is a couple of different things. So the first thing before anything else is to shed light on whatever the cause is, right? So, like, example, whenever Kaepernick first started, before he fleshed out exactly what he was going to do, he decided to sit before, like, during the anthem. He was just sitting on the bench. That in and of itself doesn't tell people what exactly he's doing, but everybody saw it because they're like, oh, most people stand during this. So once he's done it a couple times, it's like, let's pay attention to that, figure out what that is. So, like, for the protest I went to, it's to be seen. So it's a huge group of people in the city. So whenever huge people gather for anything, you're gonna wonder, what's that for? What are they talking about? There was a news helicopter flying over us the whole time. So let's assume somebody has no idea what's happening. They're watching the news. They see, oh, in downtown Raleigh, where I live, there's like 500 people walking together, holding up signs. You see that, and you're automatically, if you don't know, you're gonna wonder what that's about. The second thing is to be heard. So after people see you, it's, well, what's your cause? So somebody hit up Kaepernick and was like, why are you not standing for the anthem? He explained what his cause was. So we're screaming and chanting and have different signs because once you see us, you'll then, if you're in person, you'll hear what the chants are, which is no justice, no peace. We don't want racist cops. All the things that we believe and have upset us are being screamed and shared on signs, which again, the news, helicopter, different media's out there to display all that. And then the last thing that I really liked about the protest I went to is the end point was right in front of the governor's mansion, and they had like two roads blocked off side by side, so that no cars could get in. And we just sat down in front of the mansion, and we spoke there for like 30 minutes. And we were like, the reason we marched here is because this is where like our change starts. Like, this is the closest place to us where the person who lives here can evoke change, right? So they write down what is it specifically that we want changed. If you could give it directly to our governor, what is it you want him to hear? And ironically, before we left, he actually walked by. So it's like, it's a mixture of wanting to show that we're gathering for a reason. We have something to say, so listen. And then now that the group's together, talking to the group about, we talked about you need to vote. I know it feels like it's useless sometimes, but it's something we all can do that directly affects things. So we have to vote, figure out specifically what it is that you want changed. So we spoke from everything from police reform to just the way Black people are treated in healthcare, hospitals, housing, all those types of things. So educating the group that's together so that they can educate everybody else that's watching the protest or asking about it. So
Question
yeah.
real quick. Who was
Go
doing
for
the
it.
speaking?
It was, so I think actually some students at state organized
Okay.
the protest. It was like I think they were about 20 years old. And then there was this older woman, I think might have been a professor maybe. But they spoke about why they organized it, what the goal was, and then they actually let people come up and like just say anything they want. If they had anything they specifically wanted to say. One white girl went up and said she felt like it's her responsibility to speak up even though she's not Black. So yeah, it was a few different people speaking.
Okay. Kris, anything to add to that?
And I mean, he pretty much outlined that very well. Why we're doing what we're doing and the feelings that we're feeling, and everything that I'm for the protest, the peaceful protest. I can't imagine not doing anything at this point. That's craziness. As far as the looting and the rioting goes, I don't agree with it. I think that it's counterproductive. Especially
In what way?
I think that there's a couple things. I think that it's kind of, especially when you are tearing down your own community. And so like because now, we had the Blackout Friday, like I asked people, hey, put a list of Black businesses, because those are the businesses that we should be trying to build up, not physically tear down. And so those types of things, I know that you said we don't want to get into the specifics of things, but I know that a lot of people were sort of looking for a reason to just wild out. Mm-hmm. And you can tell who's doing what and why by the people who are out there doing it. You know what I mean? It's just not matching up with the cause. And so I'm not for that, because it's basically taking the cause and crapping all over it. Because that's not standing for what we're trying to do. However, this is what I do want to add to it. And this is logical to me. Let's just say this, I'm just making up something off the top of my head. If you're in a relationship, if a woman is in a relationship with a man, but they love each other, supposedly, all right, if the man slaps the woman, it happens, you know what I'm saying? And she's like, yo, that was crazy. They talk about it. And she's like, do not do that again. Like, I do not do it again. Okay, the time goes by. He does it again. You know what I mean? And so she basically started to slip away from him emotionally, and there's just a void now, right? They're still together. He continues to slap or abuse her, whatever. Eventually, there's going to come a boiling point to where she's going to take a pan and knock him upside the head. Because, bro, nobody wants to be stuck in a relationship to where it's like, I'm like, not going to let you just beat on me. And with no type of justice. I'm like, if we have to be together, if we have to live with each other, like, something has got to give. Either you stop abusing me, you stop slapping me, or I'm going to do something about it, and it's not going to be good for you. And so I think it's easy, and this is what I want to say, it's easy for people to get mad and look at the guy's face who got hit upside the head with the pan and be like, how dare she do that? He's going to have a high medical bill. He's going to this, that, and the third. Like, because that's what's happening. A lot of people doing that. He's going to have a high medical bill, and I wonder how long it's going to take him to pay that off. Instead of addressing the problem that, well, you know that he's been beating on her for years, and she's been doing everything that she possibly can without hitting this guy, trying to tell him, like, hey, like, you're hurting me. Could you stop? Hey, you're hurting me. Could you stop? Countless times over and over again. And so when she finally gets up the urge to be like, yo, I'm sick of it, and she does something, and now it's all over the news, you know what I'm saying? Now, here we are right now. And so I think a lot of people want to jump to, they want to look at the things that can be replaced and not look at the things that can't be replaced, like human lives. And so it's disheartening. It's sort of disgusting a little bit to me, because my thing is, I'm looking at, I don't care if you're white, black, polka dot, striped, whatever. My thing is like, yo, can you look at a human life and just discount it like that and push it aside? Well, but what about the glass that got just shattered at Neiman Marcus? Like, Neiman Marcus, you know what I mean? And so my thing is, I don't agree. I don't agree with busting in glasses and going crazy, especially if you're stealing things. That has nothing to do with what we're trying to, that has nothing to do with it. However, I do agree with the frustration, the anger, the rage of being suppressed and for just taking this for so long. Because right now, like you said, we can't even, it happens so often that we can't even focus on more than one thing. We're just focusing on one right now, right? Mm-hmm. So if we take our eyes off of this, we can go to Sandra, you know what I mean? Or we can go to Ahmad. Like, there's multiple things. We just focusing on this one thing. So it's bound to happen. And so I don't think anything is going to change until there's a heart change. And people are, and I've been saying this, until people are ready to get rid of their apathy and start feeling a little bit of empathy, we're gonna keep on going around in circles. And so yeah, man, like we're too late in the game to be like, oh, you can just sit down and not do anything. That includes white people as well. You know what I mean? And so that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I know the example you use of the wife, hitting her husband. I would say in the case of the looting and rioting, it's more like her hitting her brother because she's mad at her husband because her brother's also a man. Right. That's kind of the way I view it. Like, you're not really punishing the one who's responsible for the negative actions in your life. You're attacking those around you, closer to you. Right. And I've seen, like, there was a gentleman, there was a black business owner, older guy. He got killed because he was trying to defend his store.
Right.
They were like, huh?
Is that the guy with the sword?
I can't even remember. There were so many.
I think I know what you're talking about.
There was a ton of them though, and the weird thing is, like, there's so many different scenarios going on right now. It's like it's hard to really justify, which looting of what type of store, what type of community is okay, this, that, and the other, and it's like, I think that's where the divide is. It's like some looting is okay, but you can only loot here in this specific area at this time, and these type of owners. And go ahead, Mitch.
I'll tell you if you don't mind. So I'm with Kris. I'm not, stealing is something it's one of my biggest issues. I'm not with the looting looting whatsoever. But I think there's a few different things going on. But one thing is, like Kris said before, there are people that just wait for an excuse to wild out no matter what. So there's that group of people that are like, let's find everything. I don't care about the establishment, bump everything. I have no cause. I'm just mad at everything, right? Then there's people, so they're just taking whatever's near them. Then there's people, black and white, who, if there's any cause, like if there's any type of chaos, they just use it to go in and take things. Like, if you think about it, I'm upset about, exactly, like I'm upset because someone that looked like me was killed by a cop, and it doesn't look like the cop is gonna get punished for it. Why would I go into a store and take something from me? You know what I'm saying? Like, that has nothing to do with anything whatsoever, right? So I think the only type of looting that people are trying to justify, which I still don't agree with, but it makes some type of sense, is, well, they figure they're mad at the government, or like big business, anything attached to like the government. So they're like, let's run into Target because it's a huge corporation that makes billions. And somehow they think that'll impact like the higher, the powers that be, not knowing that, especially me working at Target, and knowing that Target doesn't care because they're getting all that money and more back in insurance. So you're not affecting them whatsoever. But there's the people that are actually thinking the looting and rioting is helping, because it's like, oh, well, the government will have to pay for this and that'll hurt their wallet. In theory, I get why that makes some sense. I'm still not rocking with any of the looting. But yeah, like I said, there's been the people that are just like, I'm gonna break in and steal stuff. I just want to break stuff cause, and the people that at least are trying to strategically be like, if we take from big businesses, maybe it'll impact the government in some way, and they'll pay attention.
Well, here's the other thing, Jason. What do you say to the people who are coming in from out of town? What do you say to the people who would look like they're dressed up in cop uniforms, busting in windows? And what do you say to, you know, Black people approaching some of these individuals and be like, hey, you can't do that because what you don't understand, you're out here for a good time, or you very may well be out here to help us out, but they're not going to see that. Don't do that. We're out here to peacefully protest and we're trying to get our point across, but they're going to take it and they're going to twist it. As you know, like, we've already been labeled thugs. You know what I mean? We've already been labeled thugs. So whatever we do, we're going to be thugs. But when it's turned around, it's, oh, well, they're just having a good time. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or it's, I never see any, besides the pictures that are posted on Facebook and social media, in mainstream news or anything like that, I never see any pictures of Caucasians. Like, they don't show those pictures of Caucasians with, you know what I'm saying, busting out windows and things like that and saying, you thugs. Like, I've yet to see, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a byproduct of the problem that we have in this country. You know what I mean? It's a mentality thing and it's a heart thing, but it's like, so it's crazy, man. Like, there are a lot of people who are taking advantage of this and using it to just go buck wild, bro. And that's like super disheartening because it's, some people are, because I've seen quotes and things like that are saying, oh, you're just further strengthening stereotypes, this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it just makes you growl, bro. But yeah, like if here's my thing. If you are going to be crazy and if you're going to be buck wild, logically what makes sense is for you to go to the rich side of town. You know? Do I endorse and am I telling people, yeah, we need to go across town, bro, across the track, so we need to go, bro. I'm about to get me some new J's at that store, bro. Time, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that, but if you're logically thinking, and if you have any type of like brains, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If it made any sense, that's how you know people are just taking advantage of it, because it don't even make sense, bro, like what you're doing. And so, but I will say this, leading up, I don't know what you're gonna say after this, but I think if you are tired of something and it just keeps on happening, eventually you're gonna get mad and you're gonna do something about it. I don't think the way we're doing something about it is right, but I think something is being done. And yeah, bro, is like, it's just super crazy right now.
I was telling a coworker of mine, I was like, I understand the anger. I understand breaking. Like, I understand the emotional aspect of it. If my wife and I went to the beach and she was in her bathing suit and some dude saw her in a bathing suit and decided, oh, that's a reason to go rape her, and he raped and killed her, and everybody around was like, oh, well, she was wearing a bathing suit, it's her fault, you know. What other kind of clothes does she wear? Or, you know, and it's like, I'm probably going to brutally hurt the guy, if not kill him. And then whoever my friends are around me, whatever church people are around me, I'm probably immediately going to be dipping away from them. And this is why it hurts me so much to see. It's not even like necessarily, hey, we need to, stop at every single case and think through everything logically before we speak out about anything. I'm like, the Bible says weep with those who weep.
Right.
I'm like, regardless of what the situation is, the person, I mean, here's the thing. If a grandmother at church loses her son to heroin, are you going to go to her and say, oh, he was a heroin addict? There's no reason to weep.
Exactly.
No, you're going to weep with her that her son was lost because of heroin. And so that's my aspect to empathy and showing love to those who were feeling a certain kind of way. And again, I agree with y'all. I don't agree with the looting and the breaking of stuff and things like that. And a lot of that's caused by, well, I'm not going to get political, but a lot of people are pointing out that Antifa is the reason for this, which is an organization of a lot of wealthier white people that are coming in and taking advantage of the protest situation. Which the other thing, I was thinking too, like, aren't most of these looting and riotings happening after the curfew? And Mitch, didn't you tell me that y'all left before curfew?
Yep. I think that's one reason I'm glad I did the protest, because I was like, let me, and I was telling everybody to do the same in their area just to see for yourself what is happening. And we got there. It was very organized, very easy to spot. They even had a couple cops like helping block off the road where we were deep. But then Raleigh recently put in the 8 p.m. So it's like the people, I'm not going to say the people that are staying past curfew are necessarily not for the cause or just trying to cause havoc, but like there's more likely that the people that are out past curfew are looking to pick a fight. Like I know a specific guy, a friend of mine told me she was like, yeah, he said he got hit with like batons and like tear gas and all this stuff. And I was like, what did he do? And she was like, he's a white guy. He was like, he was throwing firecrackers at the cops. I'm like, okay, I mean, you probably should have led with that, like what is that helping? If you're just protesting at night, my thoughts are, if there's a curfew, I was like, what's a curfew? Like, if I'm peacefully protesting standing there, why do you get to tear gas me because I'm out past my bedtime? You know what I'm saying? But if I'm out there attacking you and like trying to rile the cops up and throwing, breaking stuff, then it's kind of like you can only be so upset about that. So yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Right. Now, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on photos of, like, whenever they show photos of police walking in the protest and showing love to people in the protest, and like you see a white cop hug a black cop. So I'm seeing a lot of mixed emotions. And so what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Man, so
now real quick background. So Kris, you were in the Air Force and you've been a firefighter, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you've been in emergency services. Okay, and thank you for your service too.
That is no problem, man. I will forever be against blanketing people. I just want to throw that out. And so when I say blanketing people or groups of people, I mean all black people like chicken, or all white people, no matter what, rock with country, or you know what I mean? Because it can't be true. That can't be. And nothing about you country lovers. That's not what I'm saying.
Look, Dave Chappelle said it best. If you don't like fried chicken and watermelon, there's something wrong with you.
Something's wrong with you.
I'm just saying. That is objectively good food. Period. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, man. So what I want to say is, I have friends that are cops. I actually have a friend who's a cop that I want to do a IG live with. And I knew this guy before he was actually a cop. Like, I was encouraging him to get through the academy because he wanted to lose weight. He wanted to get his stamina up, get some muscle. He's like, bro, this has been a goal, a dream of mine. And I encouraged him through it. And I knew his heart before he went in. And he's been the same guy. He hasn't morphed minds, and now all of a sudden he's like a robot. He's like, nah, like, it's nothing like that. And so we talk a little bit, and it's hard for him because he's African American. And so he's catching the flack from both sides. But that's a whole different thing. But what I want to say is, I know that all cops are not like crazy and out to kill black people, this, that, and the third. And so, but it's needed more than ever for them to actually step up when they see their colleagues doing something crazy, to be like, hey, you can't do that. Right. And on top of that, I'm gonna have to report you, because if I don't report you, this is gonna keep on happening over and over and over. And so I think that when you work in a type of atmosphere or a culture, especially when you're trying to gain rank, a lot of times people, because I was, like you said, I was in the military, and so sometimes you don't want to step on people's toes and you want to get along with everybody. So I think that's why we saw the other three officers with the whole George Floyd situation. That's why you could tell that it happened before. They were just sitting there like this, like a normal day in the park. You know what I mean? Yeah. You could tell a culture type thing. They had created this thing where, yes, I know what he's doing is wrong, but I'm not going to say anything because it is the norm, and we'll just see what happens. And we're here right now. And so I wanted to say, like, I know that all cops aren't bad, but it's super important right now that we see those photos, that we see videos of cops kneeling, that we see that all cops are not bad, because you see two different types of departments approaching the situation. You see the types of departments who are putting their shields, their battle rattle down, they're putting their weapons down and be like, hey, we're here to actually be a part of the solution for this problem. And so we want to meet with you guys. Like, that's what I wanted to say to you as well. And like, I know both of y'all have been in relationships at this point in our lives, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, when you're in a relationship with a female, whatever, like, there's bound to be some type of problem, right? So the worst thing that you can do in a relationship is to minimize somebody, how they feel. If they come to you and they tell you, I don't like the way you said what you said, right? And if you come to them and you're like, well, I say that all the time, or you just diminish how they feel, it's going to be a problem every single time. However, if you use a little bit of empathy and put yourself in their shoes, and you're saying, you know what, I didn't think the way I said that would hurt you, but I can now flipping, you know what I'm saying, and seeing it from your point of view, I can see how that would be upsetting. I'm going to work on that. And let's work together to see what we can do to not reach this point again. The departments who are taking those steps and putting their battle rattle down and actually here to actually in this relationship, because that's what it is, we have to coexist with cops no matter what, right? We're not gonna have a society where cops are just not gonna be there. It's not gonna happen. So in coexisting together, like, we have to find a way to like understand, see the problem, how do we find a solution? But in order to have a solution, bro, like, you gotta meet me halfway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the other cop, that's one department. The other departments are coming, and you can literally see, like, bro, I call them thugs with badges. Thugs with badges, because you can see that they're not there to fix the problem. They're there to look for the first wild protester, and they want to beat somebody. You know what I mean? Like, you can just see in their body posture how they speak to each other. There's plenty of videos out there that cops have got reprimanded and things like that. And so I think we need more leaders. We need more people, cops holding other cops accountable for when they do see some craziness going on. And I think that it's a heart posture of the departments to actually want to fix this thing, as opposed to, yo, like, well, Trump told us to come out here and go crazy and you know what I'm saying, pop people with rubber bullets, so that's what we're gonna do. Like, that's gonna further the problem. That's gonna start like a civil war, bro. Like, that's what if that's the route you're going, that's how you do it. But if you want to better America and you want us to get past this and start, you need to change your heart. You know what I mean? And we need that. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I've always felt like whether it comes to political matters, racial issues, and theology, it you can't change hearts necessarily. There are some people whose hearts can be penetrated via Facebook or Twitter, Instagram. It's a one-on-one in your community. People have to go into their churches, disciple people, to have conversations with people, and explain to them like the truth of the situations. I have friends in Atlanta, like Ryan. He had an issue in his own neighborhood. I've been in his neighborhood. I've stayed at his house. So hearing the story about a man like pretty much threatening the life of him and his daughter for absolutely zero reason, because they were a black family walking through a I guess predominantly white neighborhood. I'm really not entirely sure. I think that's what he said, categorizing a neighborhood. But like, and every time I see somebody die, it's like, that could have been Kris, Mitch, Ryan, Sean. That could have been, this is going to make some people shudder if they listen and they're racist. It could make my future son-in-law. It could have been my future son-in-law. Whatever. Like, and I was thinking, I thought about that the other day. I was like, what if that was my son-in-law? Like, not that a son-in-law is any more important than any other human being, but, I got to thinking about that. And it was like, and I knew, like, I thought about putting that on Facebook, and I was like, I don't know if I want to start fights. Is that I don't know. And that's, and so.
That's a multi-layered situation.
It is. It's very, and I want to say one more thing too, before we go into like another thing, is I halfway appreciate some of my fellow white Americans whenever they point out the injustice in George Floyd. But if you're only talking about the injustice in that and then say, but XYZ,
It negates it.
I'm like, it negates it. Like, you can't say, look, I'm very sorry for what happened to this guy, but the looting, the rioting, yada, 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 yada. I'm like, you just canceled yourself out.
Defeating the purpose.
You just defeated the purpose. So what do y'all think what is something that white brothers and sisters in Christ can do? And I know, like, the last show that we did, Solomon's Porch, or the one before, no, the one before the last one, we did top 5 things that white people can, or top 5 ways to respond to racial discrimination or racial injustice. And I reached out to Mitch and several people to get try to get somewhat of, what does a lot of my black brothers and sisters think is the most beneficial for us to do. And we shared that. And so I understand talking about it, but for me, talk is not enough. I'd rather walk the walk than talk the talk. I'd rather talk and walk. What are some things that we can actually do? And I know talking is doing something, but is there anything that we can do that you feel like would possibly help the cause?
Right. Well, for me, I think donating is always cool. That's always the last thing I recommend people do. Not that it's not important, but like, everybody struggles with money. So it's not fair for me to be like, give money when like I don't have that much money to give either. But that always can help.
Give money to who?
Different causes like the NAACP, just different, because there's always people trying to collect money that'll help Black causes, or like, what was it? I forgot what the NFL ended up giving money to, but like different groups that are trying to work on police and citizen relations. Just any cause that you are told, like, you can ask people what causes they think would help, like Black people when it comes to different issues that are plaguing the people. But like I said, that's one of the last things I recommend. Because there's a lot of easier things, and like you said, you do want to do more than talk, but I've learned talking is the basis of literally all major change ever. So like, it sounds petty, but like, or small, but social media is, especially in 2020, is one of the most powerful things. If it weren't for social media, none of this would be happening right now.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have known about George Floyd, right? So like, I was telling, a lot of people have asked me this week, actually, what can they do? And I'm like, if you make it just abundantly clear that not only are you not racist, but you don't stand for racism, you won't associate with people who are racist, and why you feel that way and why others should feel that way, it does a lot. Like, I've seen a ton of my friends on Facebook talking about, I had a girl call me and say that she like basically told her brother they can't have a relationship anymore if he doesn't change the way he thinks about things. And the reason that's important is because, like, especially people my age, in our 20s, we're going to be the future. So the people we raise up are going to either be racist or not, depending on how we raise them. So if you make it clear now where you stand, and basically you're saying the rest of my family tree from me on is not going to be this, that's going to help the future. Because as much as I wish racism would be gone like today, realistically, everybody here is not going to be alive to see it change too much. But I'm hoping for my kids to not have to deal with it, right? So talking about it with friends and family and letting it be known, like, this is, if they don't get it, explain to them why racism is bad, or why, if they don't think they're racist, why they're wrong, or that they have racist tendencies, right? Sharing on social media, those things, having those, calling out other white people when you see them say something ignorant, not necessarily starting a fight, but like explaining to them how, I want to say how they're wrong, but that can be taken as starting a fight, but I think you get it. And one thing I've been telling people to do, especially on Facebook, reach out to like minority friend, like legit friends you have. Don't reach out to a random Black person, but like someone who's in a minority group that's your friend, right? And ask about their experience. Like, we're very quick to talk about what is different, like what we go through every day. If you ask, like, what is your experience with this? How have you felt in these situations? Like, as long as you don't, like I said, hit up a random Black person, like, yeah, I'm sure they'll be willing to answer any questions you have, and actually have a dialogue with you, so you can actually understand what we go through, you can share that with other people. So those are two things. I'll let Kris go if he has anything.
No, I think that was really good. I think that siding alone. Well, first off, let me just say this. What's the difference? Like, how are people in power? Like, what's the difference between us and people who are in power right now? What would you say? Like, what's a variable, a very strong variable? Like,
aside from race,
yeah,
and money.
I'd say it's the years, and this has been kind of a thing behind kind of the women's movement too. It's the years. It's like the head start.
Yeah.
It's the head start that white individuals have had to own land, own property, and really the whole entire key to anything is ownership.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. Like, both of y'all like pretty much hit on the head. Like, money, right? Money, ownership, because money is going to give you the ability to have ownership over land, property, this, that, and the third. And so my thing is, if you want to somewhat shake up the powers that be, or if you want to start shifting the situation, you have got to figure out a way to hit that pocket, bro. You got to hit the pockets. And so, and I'm saying that to just go out of, if you see a white person own this, like, just don't shop there for any red. That's stupid. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you see that a corporation's beliefs are not in line with the movement or the cause that we're trying to push, then that's probably a good time for you to go ahead and cancel that corporation the best that you possibly can. So I don't know how true it is, but somebody said that about Walmart and these other corporations, like, they're pretty much like whatever, you know what I mean? So if you find out there are corporations that are like that, as a black or white, honestly, I think that coming together and being like, you know what, like, I don't want my kids to grow up in this type of world, so I'm not going to fund a corporation or you know what I'm saying, any type of entity that stands for that or pushes those types of beliefs. I think, like, you can side with black people on that, you know what I mean? Because you just know the heart behind the person who's pushing the corporation. I think, man, like, and this could probably jump into a whole different conversation. One thing I will say, and I don't even know if you've ever heard this conversation before, Jason, but I will say it in front of you. I think one big difference between the black community and a lot of other communities is, unfortunately, we don't sustain ourselves like a lot of other communities. For instance, Jewish people, like, they're very good at managing their own communities. They pour back into their own communities. Asians, because I'm not going to say Chinese, but, like, I know that there's Chinatowns, there's Asian, they pour back into their own community. They teach their children, hey, I'm going to give you a treasure, whatever it may be, land, money, whatever, and I'm going to teach you how to steward it, right? And so then you can teach your kids how to steward it. And I think that when it comes to us, and this is something, a whole different conversation, but we are so much sort of like crabs in the barrel, where it's sort of hard to see. Sometimes it feels like we don't want to see each other shine. And so we got to break that before anything. That's a whole different conversation. We got to break that mentality. But if you see somebody who's making a change in the community for the good, as far as a black company, support that joint. Like, support it. Like, pour into that organization. Have chats with them. I think that white people, you know what I mean, like, they could come along and have chats with police chiefs and things, set up things like that. And because your presence as a white person is going to do something different from my presence as a black person, you know what I mean? There's going to be atmospheres that you can go into. I just talked with Justin Mitchell about this the other day. There's going to be atmospheres that you can go into and make more of a difference because of your relatability and your race. I'm just throwing it out there. Just like you can't probably go into the hood and be more, you know what I mean? They're going to look at you a certain type of way as opposed to somebody who's the same color, maybe from the same background, you know what I mean? And so using that platform that you do have and that relatability that you do have to make a difference and speak, because their ears are going to be more open up to what you have to say. I think I saw it wasn't a riot, it was the protest where there were the black people and then they had the white people, like, sort of in front, you know what I mean? But the white people were for, obviously, and the thing was, it was like, they were
like shielding.
You know what I mean? Because it was like they were between the black people and the cops. You know what I mean? And so they were sort of saying like, hey, yeah, like if you want to get to them, you got to get through us. And statistics show that you don't want to go through us because we're not the ones that you mess with, but we're just here to let you know that you're wrong. You know what I mean? And so I feel like on a symbolic level, like that's what we could do. You know what I mean? The platforms and the relationships that you have with your friends who may not listen to me, like be like, hey, like, have you ever thought about that, or have you ever thought like maybe this is the way that they're feeling? Because if I come at them, and a lot of black people are in their emotions right now.
They would think you're angry.
Daily. So as soon as you say me, especially if I don't have God in my heart, I'm be like, yo, get out my face. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. Like, don't. I'm just keeping it funky with you, bro. Like some black people are on a tip right now. Like if you were with some like all lives matter, or if you're like black people they not trying to hear none of that right now, bro. Like they're like, yo, on some, bro, I want to choke somebody right now. Please leave. You know what I mean? And so I think if you're really siding with, you know what I'm saying, black people, like, and I told somebody this as well. Here's a do not act like you understand what we're going through, because it's like you can't, you know what I mean? Just like I can't understand exactly all that you've been through as an individual, you know what I mean? Because it's a different life experience. But just acknowledge and be like, hey, bro, like I don't know everything that you're going through because I haven't walked down that road, but I want to let you know that I love you, and anything that you need, I'm here for you. I got you. You let me know what I could do for you personally and for the cause. You know what I mean? And I mean I think that's a good start. You know what I mean? Because that's showing empathy. It's be like, I know what they're doing is wrong, and I want to do what I can in my sphere or my circle to change that. And so like I think that's a good start though.
I agree.
But
it's like people say that like and again I kind of touched on it already. Like in the same way, you know, people talk about trickle down economics and how that didn't work. I'm like, trickle down anything doesn't work. Unfortunately, not in our system. Because here's the thing. Even when Obama was in the White House, like not a whole lot of things changed that much for the black community. So like it doesn't start from the top, it starts ground level. Like everything starts ground level. And that's what I mean by like you have to talk one-on-one with your neighbor, with your coworker, with your classmate, with your fellow deacon, like you know all that stuff. That's really what it takes. And because I've never, you know, and I don't have a whole lot of huge faith in our political system, unfortunately. And I wish I didn't feel that way, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the two-party system. I'm not a fan of the way things are structured and all that stuff. So that's just, you know, that's me. And but again, like you said, Kris, like letting people know. And I've tried to reach out to all of my a lot of my close friends who are black and asking them like, hey, how you feeling? How you doing? Just want to let you know I'm praying for you. I love you. I'm praying for safety of anybody out there, you know, protesting. The other aggravating thing about the crazy looters and rioters is they ruin it for the bunch.
Yep.
In the same way, and this might be a really bad comparison, and people might crucify me for this. In the same way, the crappy cops are ruining it for all cops out there. These rioters and violent people are ruining the look and the name of the peaceful protesters.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, and I, you know, and we can't even really talk about a lot of the other issues that I see online because, like I said, both of you are, you're not for the looting, even though I think you both said you understand it. And well, not the looting, but the rioting.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've seen some things, you know, and I've seen some things that frustrated me as a white individual that I just decided I need to shut up. I saw one lady right before I jumped on this call on Twitter. She said that it's scientifically proven that every white person is born a racist and every black person is born into depression. And And I don't know if they were Christian or not, because I was going to say, well, I guess everybody stems from Adam. So everybody is born into sin. So, but so hearing stuff like that, and I think a lot of white people, they see that and they get frustrated, and that makes them push back against the protest and things like that. But I'm like, you can't let everything you see like negate the good things that are being said.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So I don't think one bad sermon negates every other good sermon the pastors had,
Right.
that one bad theological view cancels out every other theological view. And I'm speaking in terms of Christian and theology, because most of our platform is Christian listeners.
Right.
But yeah, man, I was trying to think if there was anything else specifically I wanted to hit on before we jumped off this thing. Was there anything specific that y'all kind of really would love to just get off your chest?
The last thing I'll say is just one of the main things, and I this is one of the first things I tweeted, is situations like this are one of the many reasons a lot of Black Christian hip hop artists wonder if this is the space for us, because it's like, on one end, we're always criticized for not necessarily always putting a Bible verse or like Jesus in our songs. And that's one thing. But then it's like, when it comes to serious things like this, if we try to rap about it, talk about it, Christians will come and be like, this is wrong, this isn't true, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if this is the audience that's listening, like, it's like, what is the point of even being in Christian hip hop if like the people that claim to be fans of it and fans of us only like us when our music fits exactly what they want, but don't realize like, yo, we should support their cause because they're Black as well as Christian, and they go through these things that we might not understand. So it's just one of those things where it's like, and a lot of artists agree with me, it's like, it just feels almost weird to be like, we make music for these people, but then whenever we need anything, it's, well, what about this? Or, oh, he wasn't the best person, so why are you even supporting this? Why are you rapping about this? He wasn't a Christian, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not even like, it's like we're talking to a brick wall at the time, So it's one of those things where it makes us think a lot. I do know there's a lot of people that do get it. And this week has definitely showed me that I have a lot of followers and listeners that like do understand, and if they don't, they're willing to reach out. But it's always those few that almost like ruin it, where it's like why am I even in this space if this is who's like listening?
Yeah, no, like if I could just add a little bit onto that, man, I definitely feel you on that. And I think that is, honestly, bro, I think it's sort of a reflection of the church, because even a lot of people who don't even listen to like Christian hip hop, I've seen like a lot of things. I see, unfortunately, like I would say in the past like half decade, from the Christian church, man, like I question like how much in common we really have with the Father's heart.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I really do, because my thing is we focus a lot. I feel like honestly, when you look at other countries like Africa, not countries, like continents.
I was like,
it's a country now. You just look at other spaces on Earth, bro. Like, it's how people are actually genuinely trying to dive into God and develop a relationship with Him. And then you come here. I feel like God and Christianity, I feel like we have the Dollar General version of Christianity, bro. Like, just to be honest with you, I feel like we have the knockoff version, because it's definitely more of a political party type thing. Anytime I hear this Christianity, and it's like, but then when things like this happen, it's like we have the direct opposite, you know what I'm saying, intentions when it comes to the Father's heart. You know what I mean? Like, we know it. You know what I mean? And so we're quick to like stone people, like, we don't even care that he had a knee on his neck. We just like, well, he was a felony. Like, oh, he's a felon. I'm sorry, he committed a felony. You know what I mean? So the stones are flying. I was like, bro, do you like have a heart for loving your neighbor like at all? You know what I'm saying? Despite color, like just in general. You know what I mean?
Right.
And as far as like, and obviously if it's in us as a people, it's definitely gonna trickle down to like CHH. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we want you. People want to. At the end of the day, people want to have their ears tickled. And so, and when you start getting down to the root of sin and pointing out and be like, or if you touch on something that makes them feel like, man, maybe I need to look in the mirror and try to fix that or talk to God about that, they're gonna turn it off. Or they're gonna be like, why are you talking about this? I want to bob my head. I want to jump up and down when you come to my church. Yeah. I don't want to talk about anything that's gonna cause me to change and have a deeper relationship with Christ. You know what I mean? Like, and here we are, you know what I mean? And so that's where I think it's dangerous for CHH because we can already sort of see the direction that it's going. It's like if we keep on going that route, we're definitely moving away from, I'm not saying this for everyone, I'm just saying in general, it's easy to want to fancy people's ears and get the, you know what I'm saying, the plays and be like, you know, and just have everybody like rah, rah. And then at the end of the day, like God is like, that's definitely not what I intended that for. You know what I mean? Like when I gave you the gift, I actually wanted you to represent me. I actually wanted you to speak my heart. You know what I mean? But I see that you're just going to tickle people's ears, and I'm scared of that, man. I'm scared of that, and I'm sort of like going back to that ancient dialogue. What was it like? Do you consider yourself a Christian rapper or a rapper that's Christian?
Or a rapper that's Christian.
Stuff, man. It's just like, bro, like whatever space I end up in, like I've sort of stopped caring. Like whoever has the heart to listen, bro, like if a secular venue is like, yo, Chris, you're dope, bro, we want you to come out there, I'm gonna play the same song, bro, that I would play in the church. You know what I mean? And it's the same as that, you know what I mean? And if a Christian, if CHH or these venues are just like, well, you're not exactly what we're looking for right now, and so that's fine. You know what I mean? That is, it's okay. And so, bro, but I think that we definitely got to take a look at our hearts, man, like Christianity in general, especially right now in this season with all this craziness going on. Because I see a lot of justifying. I see a lot of things that I did not expect to happen. And it's sort of disheartening because a lot of people can't differentiate the people of God and God himself. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people, like people who are just like newbie Christians or anything, stuff like that. They will take getting hurt by the people of God, be like, that's why I hate even talking about becoming a Christian.
Yeah.
Because they're freaking hypocrites and the Bible says this, and then they pull out and they do the exact opposite. That's why I don't want to be a Christian. And what I would say to those people is like, look, people misrepresent God all the time. Don't let them hurting you and doing the wrong thing like mess up your relationship that God wants with you. You know what I mean? Because God is completely different. God is the same as he was yesterday, and he'll forever be the same. Like what they do has no bearing on that. He's still himself. You know what I mean? And so, but the world doesn't know that. See, that's the problem. They just see us. We're supposed to be representing them, and they're just like, y'all on some other stuff, bro.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I feel like the church in America is like judges. Israel just kept screwing up. But one of the issues, and this is speaking on kind of what Kris was talking about, and I put it in a Facebook post. I hate seeing the church being outshined in the Black communities by BHI or by Hebrew Israelites or Louis Farrakhan, the Islamic community. It's like, I don't understand why we are failing in this particular area.
Oh, like, are you talking about like in the Black, like?
Yeah. It's like, stuff like that. All sorts of stuff. It's like, again, I would consider those also knockoff Christianities or Dollar General Christianity. Right. Their own sect of Christian, beliefs, or I mean, a lot of them don't consider Christian because we've painted such a negative, we've been a bad example. But in general, they're like, it's like, look, sometimes you've got to, some people's not going to like this. Sometimes you have to set aside not being able to understand fully, and like I said earlier, and just weep with your brother, be there. Help them out. That's what we have to be. and this is, you know, and this, and I'm going to put myself on blast. And I know I was wrong for this when I felt this way. And even my wife, when I told her, she was like, "Why would you feel that way? That's so wrong." But I'm gonna be open and share it with y'all. But like, whenever I started speaking out, because I knew, like, I have people on my Facebook that are ultra conservative. Like I said earlier, probably somewhat sort of, you know, racist, uh, or, you know, just different things. And I was like, you know, I hope whenever I speak out that my black friends appreciate it. I felt that way. I'm not gonna lie, I did feel that way. And at first, there was like nobody that was like, "Yeah, I appreciate it." Just like, actually, I got attacked, pretty much attacked when I spoke out against the Aubrey thing because I didn't say something a certain way. But I had people step in and defend me, and they were like, "Yo, he spoke out. You know, I appreciate you speaking out." And and I say that to say this to, you know, any of my white brothers and sisters out there: you can't do something with the expectation of something in return. You do it because it's right.
A life lesson.
And that's what, and Sean Grant really kind of, you know, pointed that out. He's like, you know, you don't do something to get a thanks. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Like, Jesus didn't die. I'm not comparing what I did to anything Jesus did, but just a life lesson. What Jesus did, he didn't do it so we would thank him. He did it because he loved us. We thank him because he did do it.
Right.
So anytime we do something right, we don't do it to be recognized. We do it because it's the right thing to do.
That goes back to rewards too, right, bro? Like, I mean, biblically.
Yeah. And so I hope I was clear that I wasn't comparing anything I did to what Jesus did. I was not doing that.
No, you're
but I always try to take everything back to what Christ did, or, you know, to the Bible. And that was, you know, just a lesson. It's not that I didn't know that. It was just I wasn't thinking about that in the moment. And so I felt like I needed to be thanked or whatever. But I do want to thank you two for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for having us.
You know, I have no idea how many people are going to listen to it. And I pre-apologize because I know you're probably going to be nailed in the comments for not being for the riots and the looting and the violence, because like I said, I've seen all over the place different thought processes on that. And but I consider you two my brothers, and I don't mean that just in that you're darker skinned than me like a brother, but like I consider you two family, like legit. And I appreciate both of you, and
appreciate you, man,
and what y'all do.
Thank you.
And I'm waiting for the compilation album. So
dude, Kris, I'm getting the second beat like today. So
let me hear.
We're still recording, y'all.
Yeah, it's fine. Teaser.
All right. Well, I'm gonna
21.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the recording, so this conversation will be over. But I do appreciate y'all.
No problem, man. Be easy, bro.
Of course, man.